Bonjour, my name is Susan Michon, and I will be teaching French 1 this year at Summit Lakes Middle School and Lee Summit High School. I am new to the district, so a little about me. I have an undergrad degree in French from Bethany College, which is just a tiny little liberal arts college in West Virginia, which is near where I grew up in Ohio. A big part of the reason I chose Bethany was because they had a study abroad program at the Sorbonne, which is in Paris. It's one of the oldest universities in Europe. So that was a great experience that I had as a junior in college. I got my graduate degree later on from Grand Valley State University in Michigan in education. I am married to a Frenchman, actually. His name is Romaric. He actually is an engineer, and his job moved us to Michigan, which is why I got my graduate degree at Grand Valley. And his job is actually what moved us down here as well to the Kansas City area. So I have been teaching in Harrisonville High School for the last 9 years. These are some of my students and me on a trip to France and Switzerland that we took in the summer of 2019. Romaric and I also have 2 daughters, Victoria and Isabel, and they are French speakers as well, which is kind of cool. They've been hearing it since birth and pretty much speaking it since they've been able to speak. So I'm hoping that's a life skill they will carry into adulthood. For our French class, we're going to be using the TPRS method, which is teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling. So unlike a typical language class where you get a big long list of vocabulary and you have grammar lessons that are very specific concepts, we're going to be learning through stories. And these stories are going to be created by me, but then also with a lot of input from the class. So hopefully the students will feel some ownership over those. They'll be learning vocabulary and grammar within the context of those stories. And then we'll also be doing some culture stuff, some current event stuff. We're going to play games, we're going to sing songs. And hopefully these types of things are going to be a little more engaging for students than some things that you would see in a typical language classroom. And that, of course, is especially important because we're virtual at the beginning of this year. So being virtual, participation is also maybe a little bit more of a challenge. So students might have to be a little more deliberate about that piece. So when we're in our synchronous lessons, when we're doing Google Meet and are actually in some kind of a classroom, listening is going to be especially important, making sure that students are listening to what I'm saying, what their classmates are saying, when I put out a video to what that video is saying, because listening is how we begin to learn a language. Just like when we're babies, we listen a lot for the first couple of years, and then we start speaking eventually. So listening and reading are going to be really important at the beginning. So participating in class is huge. Just really quickly, obviously we're going to be using technology because this is a virtual class, but Google Translate is out of bounds for obvious reasons. And then just having a positive attitude, making sure students are willing to get out of their comfort zone, be a little bit silly. That'll make class more engaging, and hopefully it will also help with students' retention of what we're learning and their learning of the language. For class, students are going to need a Chromebook and headphones. Headphones are not absolutely necessary, but they'll be great for not having a whole lot of background noise when we're meeting via Google Meet and helping students concentrate. I apologize, I put paper here and composition notebook here. They're the same thing. Students will need a composition notebook or a spiral-bound notebook about 100 pages because we are going to be going a little bit old school. We're going to be handwriting our stories as well as some other things for class. And the reason for this is because research can show us that handwriting is actually a little bit more effective in retaining the language than typing or using online programs. So we are going to be handwriting, taking pictures, uploading those to a document that I'm going to give the students. So a little bit old school, but for good reason. This is what grades are going to look like. Like I said earlier, having the input, the listening, and the reading is super important at the beginning. So in French 1, that's the biggest chunk of their grade. Output, which is these little writing assignments, that's going to be a smaller portion of their grade, 20%. And then a very small portion of their grade, but still important, is what we learn about different Francophone cultures throughout the world. You can help by just asking your student what they've learned. If they are learning a story, they can recite that story for you or write it out for you. You please encourage them to participate in our synchronous classes, the Google Meets. That will be huge. And then also listening and reading in French, things outside of our classroom. little cartoons and things like that will give the students some resources, but encouraging them to use those resources would be a huge help. Taking French is wonderful. It's a super useful language. It's spoken officially on 5 of the world's 7 continents. Not many languages can say that. And it's just a beautiful language too. And I happen to be a little bit partial to it, but it's the truth. Taking a couple years of language, 2 years of language here in LSR 7 will allow students access to more universities. A lot of universities require those 2 years of a foreign language just to be accepted. And then also when students are within an undergraduate program, there are lots of programs that require a couple years of language there. So having taken it in high school would be a big help. If students are interested in continuing with language as they get into the high school level, they can get college credit, they can do the IB program, they can earn the seal of biliteracy. It's just they have some really great opportunities with language at the high school level. That's really it. If you have any questions, here's my email address. I'm going to have items available for you to see on Schoology very soon. Right now, I will actually take you to my Schoology page so you can see the gist of it, even though it's not quite finished yet. So this is what my Schoology page looks like when students open it up. They'll see just my little Bitmoji classroom up here, but then down here, these will actually be live links. Only one of them is live right now, but students will be able to see their work for the week right here. So hopefully that will streamline it. They'll know exactly where to go. They won't have to search around for things. Weekly check-in, that's just every week I want to kind of hear from them how they feel like they're doing, how well they feel they've been participating, etc. They'll have an exit quiz almost every day. So it's just a very short little Google form. It's called a quiz, but it's not quite that serious. And then this link, I'm hoping I'll be able to make it so they can join the live class. I'm hoping technology cooperates there. So that is my spiel. Thank you so much for listening. I am so looking forward to meeting your students and meeting you, hopefully in person one of these days. Any questions, please email me, and have a nice day. Au revoir.